Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Shaun Solo, and today we're going to be talking about a recently released independent title called Her Story. It was published, developed, created by Mr. Sam Barlow, and if you don't know who Sam Barlow is, which you don't really have much of a reason to, but he was most famously involved with a few Silent Hill titles, Silent Hill Origins, and the highly underrated Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which was kind of a soft reboot of the Silent Hill games, I guess. It's really underrated. It's actually really fantastic. Not just Silent Hill game, but a horror game, kind of made with the Wii in mind. It was originally developed for the Wii, and it's a really cool game. If you've never played it, you could probably get it really cheap. It's worth picking up, totally. But anyways, moving on to Her Story. Her Story is kind of a modern FMV police procedural type deal, where you are a person going through videotapes and video clips on a like crime database. You're trying to figure out what her story is, and you see a woman. She's being interviewed. Her husband has either gone missing or was murdered or whatever. You're not really sure at first, right? And it's not a bad game. It's definitely decent, and actually in one of the rare times with a game like this, which is more like kind of concept than, I don't know, than successfully like implementing like mechanics and stuff like that. The concept is really great. It's really interesting. It's priced at around $5, and I think it's worth $5. It's like a game that should not be more than that. It's a few hours. It's kind of as long as you want it to be, or as much as you want to delve into it, because there is kind of no win state for this game. You kind of you figure out what you're going to figure out, and if you feel satisfied, you can just kind of quit the game. The game does kind of prompt you a little bit. It kind of gives you a few clues. You're like, well, you have enough stuff that you probably figured out the story, but you are more than welcome to continue searching on and trying to uncover all the videos, because the basic mechanics of the game are that you search through video clips, you watch video clips, and that you kind of look for keywords or key phrases, and then you type it into a search engine and try to find more videos. I really got into it. I played it. It took me about 4 hours. I found almost every single video. It's the first time in a long time a game has got me to get out a pen and paper and start writing clues down and seeing how they connected and stuff. There is like a tag system in the game where you can tag the videos so you can look them up, I guess, for reference. But if you play it in one sitting, I don't think you're ever really going to need to. It's really designed for you to play it in one sitting. Honestly, it's not something that you're going to save and come back to. I can't imagine. So for, like I said, going back to the $5 price point, I think it's a really good value in that respect. It's hard to talk about it without really spoiling it. There's a lot of kind of theories, I guess, people have about what the story actually is and what's really going on. I'm not going to spoil anything in this video. I will say this, though. It is not as amazing, I guess, as some people think it is. I thought it was pretty obvious really early on. I kind of had things figured out within the first hour or so about kind of what the deal was and what was going on before the clues. And a lot of that comes from, I'm just a big fan of stories and storytelling and structure, and kind of I'm very familiar with a lot of cliches. I'm very familiar with a lot of tropes and how they usually play out. So for me, it wasn't anything insane. None of the revelations really blew my mind or anything like that. And I don't want to be too cynical about that, because it's still like a pretty successful experience. So I know I said before that it's probably best played in one large chunk, and I think if you get it on the PC, that's probably what your experience is going to be. It's probably going to be very similar to mine, where you just take a night, a couple hours, an afternoon, whatever, and just get everything you're ever going to get out of the game. But it is also being released on iOS and portable devices, and so it's kind of going to lend itself to people that are maybe in more metropolitan areas that commute and stuff like that. And in all honesty, while I don't know if it's the way I would recommend people play it, it could totally work, because a lot of those revelations, they're very small, they're very subtle, but they could also act as kind of like episode cliffhangers. You're constructing your own like little mini episodic game in just your play style, because about every 20 minutes, they're going to probably find something that changes. You could possibly change your perspective on the story. So having said that, like it would actually probably work okay if you were to play it like on a portable device in small chunks or whatever. Like it would totally be serviceable experience in my opinion. I mean, that's not an experience I'm ever going to have, at least not in anytime soon, not with that game. It's kind of a one and done for me. Like I played through it, enjoyed it. Like I understand why people are really into it, because at its basis core, like the mechanically, it's incredibly interesting. It's something that would be cool to see in a bigger game, I guess, right? Like if this was just like if somehow somebody made like a police procedural game and this was kind of one of the mechanics, or you had some few cases or whatever, you had to do stuff like this, it would be really neat. It would be really cool. Because this is, like I said, it's kind of like more concept over functionality in terms of like why I would appreciate it and why I think a lot of people appreciate it. Just conceptually, like the idea of just going through these FMV videos and figuring out the mystery yourself is interesting, and it's something that like a lot of adventure game people would be into, like people that were kind of into something like LA Noire, maybe, stuff like that, like if they were looking for kind of a different experience, because LA Noire is like there's just like I'm a person that enjoys LA Noire. Yeah, I do think like most people that it runs out of steam about 2/3 of the way. But it has interesting mechanics, has interesting stuff, and if you kind of were able to streamline some of the stuff in LA Noire and add something like the mechanics from her story, I think that would be a really interesting avenue to kind of go down in these procedural, narratively driven games, right? So, and in that respect, I really enjoyed it. And at $5, it's really hard not to recommend, honestly, especially because, I mean, you pay that much, or you pay more than that, pay about double that to go see whatever crappy summer movie that's out right now. So this is, and you're going to get a little bit more time out of this, and it's a decent distraction. Like I said, I don't think it's as deep as people are purporting it to be, but that's just me. I'm sorry. Like I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. I think there is a little bit of groupthink that went on with kind of the overdone praise for the game. But that I don't mean to be reductive. Like I said, I don't want to be overly cynical or jaded. It's still like a really enjoyable experience. A lot of when I first started the game, I guess just like a criticism would be like the actress. I believe her name is like Vivetti Selfrit, I want to say, something like that. I apologize. I looked it up and I'm blanking on it. But anyways, she's okay. And I guess once you start playing the game, you kind of understand the performance a little bit better. There is actually some layers, some nuance. There's a reason why it kind of comes off as odd at first. So if that kind of turns you off in your initial goings or whatever, your first 20 minutes or whatever, just stick with it. It kind of makes more sense. I'm not saying she ever is going to blow anybody away or she's going to win an award or anything like that. There is kind of a very stilted stage actory kind of thing about it. But that's kind of a small complaint, because I think she makes it work once you understand what's going on in the story. Like even some of the awkwardness of it kind of starts making a little bit more sense once you start going through the video logs and you start seeing more and more of them. Just a really interesting, it's an interesting performance because when I first started, I was definitely in the camp of like, oh, this is a little overly cheesy. I don't know how I feel about this. But yeah, so just as my closing thoughts, my final word on her story is, if you got $5, you get an extra $5, you want to kill a few hours, you're interested in narratively driven kind of police procedural kind of stuff, I would say give it a go. Like, if you liked LA Noire, I'd say give it a go, even though they're completely different games, completely almost not comparable, but there's just something at the core of it, like at the core of what you would enjoy with a game like that. Is very similar to the core of this game. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. I'm Shaun, and I will talk to you guys next time I have something to talk about. Thanks for watching, everybody, and if you don't mind, could you give us a like and maybe subscribe and share to our channel. Just a technical point here, the green screen, right? So there's a little bit of problem with the green screen. Well, I'm working on getting some lighting rigs, and so hopefully don't let that deter you from following our channel. I'm going to be working on it, so hopefully if you like the content, the actual what I was saying, That's the reason to subscribe, like, share, or dislike, and don't do that maybe. Leave me some nasty comments. It'd be great. All right. Thanks again, everybody.